Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Wiregrass High School Football Report, a special edition of the podcast here in the off season. Of course, I am your host, Phillip Jordan. You check me out over at the Auburn Wire, covering all things Auburn athletics, and was the former producer of Nothing But Football on 96.9, The Legend, so radio free agent. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk high school football. This is a special edition, so you're probably wondering, Phillip, why are we here? First off, apologize for the voice. Throughout the show, I may sound a little nasally, dealing with a cold, so please bear with me here on the pod. But we're also going to have the new head coach at Providence Christian, Evan Ballard, coming over from Dale County, back-to-back years where they made the playoffs, region champions. He has now transitioned over to Providence Christian, so we will talk with Coach Ballard about all of that, about him making that move, what stood out about Providence Christian. Of course, this is a program that has had tradition, winning there at Providence Christian, so it's a different deal. Like I'll say this to enter the interview. A lot of times when a new coach comes in, it's the team, the program has struggled for a while, and they're bringing somebody in to bring new life into the program and turn around. Well, this is not the case for Providence Christian. It is more of continuing the success and taking it even further, maybe than where they have been in the past. We'll get into all that with Coach Ballard. Also kind of ask him his feelings and looking back at leaving Dale County, a place that he had been for so long, not just as the head coach, but also as an assistant coach. So we'll get into all that. And then after that, of course, things have changed a lot in Alabama High School Athletic Association since the last time I talked to you. I think was when Abbeville Christian won the state championship. Was the last time I probably did a podcast. So we're going to go over the changes. Of course, now they're all still in the Alabama High School Athletic Association, but the regions are completely different. It's 1A through 6A. Then you have two other regions for private schools. So it's different. Of course, I'll get into it on the back end of the show, but private and public schools can still play each other, but they would be non-region games. And so the private schools will play for their own state championship. And then also the public schools will do the same. I'll say this. So 7A becomes pretty much the 6A. And where Dothan's at, just, a team I've been doing games for since 2019, their region's pretty much the same. So they're not much going to change. But we'll go over how they look. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast have seen where everybody's at. But just in case you hadn't, I will go over where everybody is now at in their regions. Real quickly, too, before bring on Coach Ballard to talk with him. Remember, you can follow me on social media at P. Jordan Sports. I'm on X. I'm not as much on there as I used to be. I get on there. I post my articles and podcast episodes. But beyond that, I'm not really on there as much as I used to be. I mean, I get on there to check news, but I don't post as much as I used to. I have a Facebook page, Phillip Jordan Sports. Check me out there. Also, the YouTube channel, Phillip Jordan Sports, and you can hit me up on Instagram. I have now joined Instagram once again, and you can find me on Instagram as well, where I'll post clips and photos, artwork for the show, and all kind of other sports stuff on there as well. So please go and follow me there in the podcast, of course, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please check the show out. Follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I'll read those on future editions, and I will post the audio up on YouTube. Phillip Jordan Sports YouTube channel. And kind of as I'm more as a podcaster anyways right now, I'm very independent. I need those likes. I need those follows. So if you're listening to this, I really would appreciate it if you would support the show and share it. Tell people why to check it out. And share. I would prefer you either share the Apple Podcast or the Spotify link and just get people subscribing. That would be big. Because when the show first started in 2019, there with the radio people, DJ strategies, all that, we did have a sponsor on the show. I would like to bring sponsors in the show. One, to help local businesses. Number two, so I could kind of make a little money on doing this. I don't do it for the money, but also this is something I'm pursuing as a career. So obviously you want to have some of that coming back to you, but I don't do it for the money. I do this because I love high school football in the area. I just want to make that clear. But just saying, we get the numbers up or get subscriber numbers up high enough, then I can go to potential advertisers and get some sponsors here on the show. Anyways, that's me rambling on, me doing a little commercial advertisement for why you should check out this podcast. This is the real reason you should be listening, Coach Ballard, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. Everybody joining me on this special edition of the Wiregrass High School Football Report is the new head coach over at Providence Christian. That is head coach Evan Ballard coming over from Dale County. And Coach Ballard, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations, of course, getting the Providence Christian job, just, kind of just jumping on into it. How did it all come about?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, so, really just over the past probably, I'd say the past couple of years, just knowing and learning a lot more about the school. So we go to church at Calvary Baptist Church, and we've been there now for about 8-9 years. But in our Sunday school class, we got a lot of people that either went to Providence or send their kids there, and just other people that we've met in the church and in the community, and they just, they can't speak highly enough about the school, and really just, Providence Christian School, and being a Christian school, but they really do, put Christ first in all that they do. And that was a big draw for me and for my wife and for our family. I'll have a son who will be in second grade next year, and my daughter will be starting kindergarten. So just the opportunity to, send them to a school that, the gospel is everything that they're about, and at the center of what it is they do was just a draw for us.
I know, and then, a lot of times when you see this in all levels of football, when someone goes somewhere to take on to be the head coach, it's because the team had not been successful. They're looking for a change in that. Obviously, for Providence, since they started playing football since 2006, they've been one of the better programs in the area, a regular playoff team. So just for you kind of now stepping into that, taking over a program that has had a tradition of success. Yeah,
and I got, great amount of respect for everything that Coach Keith has done. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job for sure. I mean, the record speaks for itself, and, just conversation I've had with him in the past, you can just tell, why they've been successful, because he does things the right way. And, it is going to be different. I told somebody that not too long ago, whenever I took over at Dale County, it was kind of back-to-back years where there wasn't a lot of wins, but you're stepping into a place now where they just went in the third round of the playoffs, so it's going to be an adjustment for me. It'll be different for me, coming in and how I approached the beginning at Dale County compared to here, a place where there's been, sustained success, which is exciting, for sure. But definitely respect everything that they've been able to accomplish. And we just want to build off that.
Talking about, when you're at Dale County, and the last 2 years, you guys won region, you got to the playoffs, and again, going into a program that is used to the playoffs. How does that success at Dale County help you to carry over with what you want to accomplish at Providence?
Yeah, just understanding, what it takes to, kind of go through the gauntlet of a region schedule, and where every game, especially the last, couple of years, it felt like if you didn't bring your best game every week, then you could get beat. But on the flip side, if you did prepare and do things the right way, you felt like you had a good chance going into it. And so, it'd be the same there. As far as how we prepare, the preparation, the time you put into it, definitely be able to lean on that experience going into this one.
And I know it's very early on. And everything, just got the job within the last couple of weeks. But assistance wise, how is that looking for you guys?
Yeah, I'd love to keep a lot of the guys on staff that's been there. Again, got a lot of respect for what it is that they've done. They've had some volunteer help, so just seeing how all that plays out. But with the success that they've had, I think I'd be crazy not to still want to keep those guys around. And so I've let them know that. And, just working out logistics and things like that. Just kind of as I get settled in and as they get settled in, knowing more about me too. So that's still, just kind of working through that and just the logistics of how we'll run the program from a JV all the way up to varsity level. So some of those things got to be, ironed out, but definitely would like to keep as many guys as possible.
And just popped in my head, and just, and maybe it's just, me just, maybe it's a bad question to ask, but going, the difference, public school to private school, is there any really difference in that, or is it just all kind of the same thing?
I can't speak to it right now because I haven't, I haven't started working there yet. I'm sure there will be, some differences. I don't know if it's necessarily public to private as much as it is, you're just different schools do things different ways. And, I've been at Dale. The biggest thing is just, I've been at Dale County for so long. I've been there 8 of the last 9 years. I've been coaching for 12. So, you're talking about, 3/4 of, my coaching and teaching has been at one school. So that'll just be the biggest adjustment, I think, is just, it's just a different school, different scenery, different way of doing things, so I don't know how much of a difference it'll be there as much as it is just, just a different school altogether.
Yeah, that's the portion of the podcast where people saying, Phil, why'd you ask that question? That was not a good question. But anyways, it just popped in my head, just any kind of different, like I just was kind of curious, if there was any, if you've seen any. But anyways, of the team, how's it been like with your interaction with the team so far?
Yeah, great kids. They're very respectful. Whenever I went up there on Friday, they love the way they do their morning meetings. They have a chance of worship together and time of prayer, and it was great to see the students lead that. But then after that, before I even had a chance to introduce myself, some of the guys came up and introduced themselves. So, just great young men that I can't wait to get the opportunity to coach. And, normally during this time you're getting the itch and I definitely am getting the itch right now for sure. But I can just tell very special young men.
Yeah, I know. And just kind of looking at, what the team had last year, 9-14, made to the playoffs. A lot of seniors on the team. So some spots in there, some players will have to step into some roles. Any thoughts on that? Just kind of like the focus that's going to be for you kind of going into the spring and the summer.
Yeah, from what I've seen on film, yes, they're graduate some key pieces, but there's a lot of guys returning that played a lot of quality minutes too. 4 out of 5 offensive linemen are back, so that's huge. Quarterback, Craig Pittman, the play quarterback, graduated, but Logan Hagler stepped in and played a couple games late in the season too, and did a really good job. So he's already kind of familiar with that position, and they got guys on the perimeter that can make plays as well. So, there's pieces that are still there that contributed a bunch. And from everything I've heard, the JV program was really good. Last year, ran the right way. There was 18 ninth graders that played football last year. So a big sophomore class that I'm sure, those guys are going to have to step in and play. But, I think, with the returning pieces and anytime, especially at a school the size of Providence, you got 18 kids wanting to play football. That's a great thing to have.
Yeah, and any level football, whenever you're coming in, having 4 of your 5 offensive linemen, that established kind of experience has always got to be, for a coach, always got to be a great thing to look at.
Yeah, it is. I mean, on the flip side of that, this year at Dale County, we had to come in replacing 4 out of 5. So I mean, we saw how beneficial it is whenever you have that continuity, because my second year at Dale County, the first year we won the region championship, that's what happened. We returned 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line, had a really good year offensively. This year you had to replace those guys, and it was a struggle at times. We had to lean on our defense a lot more. So anytime, you're able to have those guys up front come back, people don't realize it, but I mean, that group, they're the ones that make you go. So, and there's nothing like experience. So very, looking forward to having that experience back for sure.
As you changing, going to Providence Christian, a lot of changes, obviously, in Alabama High School Athletic Association, going into, with the region you're going to be in, Class A, Northside Methodist in there, they're local, but a lot of interesting matchups for Providence Christian that they haven't seen, and for yourself going into it. Just overall thoughts, just on, with the way the region is set up now.
Yeah, it'd be different. And, this year, how the schedule lines up, we'll go to Mobile twice, and 3 of those Mobile schools will come to us. So, it'll be a challenge for sure. We actually, Coach Lawson at Mobile Christian actually texted me after I got the job, because we played them in the playoffs. And so, get to see them again, and got a lot of respect for the way that they run their program. But, it'll definitely be different. It'll be a challenge, just whenever you do have to go on the road to Mobile for, how are you going to get there? Where are you going to stop to eat? How are you going to do your walkthrough? All those things will be a new challenge, because normally the only time you deal with that is if you are, playing it in a playoff game. But, having to do that in the regular season will be a challenge. But, on the flip side, those teams have to do the same thing whenever they come to us, So, it equals itself out. But, yeah, definitely be just a different challenge logistically to figure all that out. But looking forward to playing some really good competition too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's new for everybody, for all the regions, pretty much that's going to be involved with all that. Before I let you go, talk about Dale County. You're there 3 years last, as head coach. You mentioned 7 or 8 years you were there as assistant or as a head coach. 18, and 13, last 2 years, 2 playoff runs. And I remember when I had Coach Holland that's now taking over Rehoboth, I asked him the same question, about Headland, because obviously as a coach at the high school level, especially, you build those relationships. Just about leaving Dale County, what was that decision like?
Yeah, it was tough. It really was, just because, like I said, I've just spent, so much time there. Built so many good relationships, and even the administration, they've been so good to me. Mr. Humphrey, can't thank him enough. He took a chance on a 29-year-old head coach, and I'm forever grateful for that. And that's why I told him I can't really put into words to express how thankful and how grateful I am for him giving me that opportunity, for sure. So, and that's what you get into it for. You get into it for the relationships that you build. And, so definitely going to miss those guys in that community. But, I feel confident that they're going to bring somebody in that's going to be able to build off what we've done. And, I know the guys coming up they've got a good foundation set. So, but yeah, definitely gonna miss those guys and miss that place, and just so thankful for everything that's happened there, for sure.
100%. Oh, real quickly before I let you go, anything else about just there at Providence Christian you want to talk about, just taking on the job and being the new head coach there?
Just the word that I think of the most, just gratitude. I think remember I was saying that too. Just so thankful for the opportunity. Just to see all the different opportunities that God has allowed me to have. I'm just so thankful that He's just led my path here to Providence Christian, and I can't wait to get started. And just again, gratitude. I can't express that enough. Just how thankful I am for their administration, but more importantly, that God has just allowed this to happen for me and my family.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, again, I appreciate you taking the time out on this Monday evening to talk about the Providence Christian, taking that job and everything else involved with that. And I do appreciate the time. And I'm sure we'll chat, sometime between now and when the season starts, get a little bit more from you on your players and everything else. But I do appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right. Once again, thanks to Coach Ballard for coming on the show. Appreciate him going on to talk about becoming the new head coach at Providence Christian and his time and leaving Dale County. And of course, we'll keep you updated here on the show when Dale County names a new head coach. And there's some other new coaches in the area too I want to talk about and talk to. So we're going to do that as well. There's some other new coaches I'm going to try to reach out to, get them on the show. Anyways, let's jump into the big topic, really, since we last had a regular episode here on the Wiregrass High School Football Report, and that is the realignment of the Alabama High School Athletic Association for 2026 and 2027 school years. And I'm going to start off just going by region, and I'm not going to go every region in the state. We here talk about the Wiregrass, so I'm focusing on the Wiregrass teams. If you want to look at the other one, of course, you can go to the Alabama High School Athletic Association website. There's also the Alabama High School history site, football history site. You can also go check out where they have it listed as well. And honestly, their site is where I'm going off of this right now, where everybody's at. So there's no more 7A. So I just kind of look at it, especially with 6A Region 2, that is really the old 7A Region 2. And that region is pretty much the same. Region 2 is the same as what 7A Region 2 was. You've got Auburn, Carter, Montgomery, Central Phoenix City, Dothan, Enterprise, Jag, Opelika, and Smith Station. Again, repeating myself for the third time. Those were all teams that were in 7A Region 2, so they're all still together. Interesting about 6A. They did put up a thing where playoffs will go from 16 to 24 teams. And I'm just going to throw it out there. In that format, if they had that last year, you would have had Dothan making the playoffs. So that's the thing, just a kind of little simple note there. All right, now looking over at 5A. Now, so this one here, it's like, and I'm going to quit comparing it to the other ones, but this will be the last time I do it. So this is kind of like for Rehoboth, if they were in 6A Region 2, so now they're in 5A Region 2. And they're going to do a lot of traveling. I'm just going to say that about Rehoboth. Rehoboth will be playing against Benjamin Russell, who was in 6A Region 3 last year, Park Crossan, who was in 6A Region 2, Percy Julian, who was 6'2", Pike Road, who was 6A Region 2 with Rehoboth. So Rehoboth's used to those teams. And just like with Russell County, Stanhope, Elmore, and Wetumpka. But for Rehoboth, that's going to be a lot of traveling for them. Not really a school in their region that's really nearby. So it'll be kind of interesting how they do their non-region schedule. They're in 5A Region 2. The new 4A Region 2 will look like this. You'll have Andalusia, Carroll, Eufaula, and Headland, who were all 5A Region 2 teams last year. And then you'll have Ashford, Dale County, New Brockton, and Strawn to close out and round out how that region is going to look there. All right, let's jump over into 3A in Region 2, Booker T. Washington, Beulah, Bullitt County, Daleville, Geneva, Pike County, and then you'll have Slocum and Wicksburg. So that's mostly a Wiregrass region when you look at it. So Booker T, Beulah, and Bullitt County as well. So that should be an interesting region in itself. So we'll see how that goes out when the season gets here. All right, now looking at 2A Region 2, which is not really any different from what it was before, the old 2A Region 2. You've got Ayrton, Cottonwood, GW Long, Geneva County, Goshen, Highland Home, Houston County, and Zion Chapel. There in that one. And then we look at 1A Region 2. You will have Abbeville dropping down from 2A. Barber County, they were also 2A last year. Brantley, Elba, Florala, Pleasant Home, Kinston, and Sampson, who also dropped from 2A Region 2. And that is all the teams that are in the public schools. Now we're going to look over at the two classifications and regions when it comes to the private schools in the state. So the way they've got it is Class AA, Class AA in that one. So in Region 1, that is where you will find Houston Academy. And the teams in their region will be Catholic Montgomery, who was a 5A team last year. Faith Academy, also 5A. You have Glenwood School, who was a 3A Region 4. You got McGill Tulin, who was 6A, along with St. Paul's 6A. And then a 4A school last year in St. Michael, and then a 5A school in UMS right there. Then we go over into single A, 1A, however you want to say it there. And Region 1 is where you will find Northside Methodist Academy and Providence Christian. So they will be in that region together. Bayshore Christian from 2A, Bayside Academy, they were 3A, along with Cottage Hill, they were 3A. Mobile Christian, who was a 4A school, and then St. Luke's, who was a 2A school. And then in Region 2, that's where we'll find Pike Liberal Arts, who they were in 2A last year. Alabama Christian was a 3A team. Fort Dale Academy, they're actually moving over from the AISA. Then you have Montgomery Academy, Prattville Christian, St. James, and Trinity. So that is how those regions will all look. And it's going to bring about some new, interesting matchups, of course, in high school football. And, of course, the other sports, it'll get figured out, too, as well, how they're going to look there. But, we're a football podcast, so that's kind of where we live at. And it'll be interesting going forward. Kind of do this for 2 years. Will they make an adjustments in 2 years? We'll see. But right now, that's where we're sitting at with the alignment for the Alabama High School Athletic Association. We have seen some schedules coming out. May in future episodes do that. And like I said, may have another one next week. Just kind of stay tuned. Stay subscribed and follow this podcast, like I said at the open, and you'll know when new episodes will drop. Anyways, of course, follow me on social media at P. Jordan Sports. Again, I apologize for nasally, cold. I don't know if y'all just heard it. I tried to pause the recording before I sneezed. You may have heard a glimpse of a sneeze. I don't know. There's a couple times there where I had to hit pause as I'm talking because the voice is very, very impacted by the cold I have. But everything's good. Hopefully this time next week if I do another one of these, you will hear my normal voice. So let's hope for that. Of course, you can also check out Phillip Jordan Show. Please check that out as well for some other good sports and football related content. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Remember, follow, subscribe, rate, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, YouTube, Phillip Jordan Sports, YouTube channel. Check me out on Instagram. I'm trying to grow the Instagram page. That's what I really more focus on that. Hey, on anything on the Twitter or the X page. And I have a Facebook page as well, Phillip Jordan Sports also. Anyways, I hope everybody has a great week. Until next time.